So we've made it to spring. It's springtime 2024. There's a lot of things going on. We've got the NFL draft. We've got in college, we got college football, spring practice, spring games coming up pretty soon. You've got the craziness in the NFL, among other things. But we're going to look at today. ESPN here recently released their way too early top 25 for the 2024 college football season. And we're going to take a look at the top 10 today on this video. Coming in at number 1, the Georgia Bulldogs, to the surprise of absolutely nobody. What Kirby Smart has built there at Georgia is great. I mean, the dynasty that he's built to overtake Saban, or he's on the route to overtake Saban, I should say. The question is, for Georgia, in my opinion, the defense. Now, you still have an offense that's returning a lot of players. Yeah, you do have certain players. Ladd McConkey, you got Brock Bowers, both entering the draft. Going to be very high draft picks there going into the NFL. You've got Carson Beck returning, and he's only going to get better and better as time goes on. But the defense is where the hang-up can come this season. Are they going to be able to replace their defensive players with players that are going to be sufficient enough to bring that Georgia defense up to where it was just a couple of years ago? Javon Bullard, for one, leaving the team. Tyke Smith is another one that's departing for the NFL. But I think Kirby Smart's going to load up on these defensive players. He knows what he's doing. He built up that defense that they had just a few years back that was one of the best defenses ever in college football. So I intend for them to get back on their feet. So it's going to be interesting to see. Coming in at number 2, the Ohio State Buckeyes. Now, quarterback Will Howard is coming in to a new offense, coming from Kansas State. Kyle McCord transferred to Syracuse. I think that was an interesting choice, to say the least. So he has had 2,490 total yards, 28 total touchdowns for Kansas State. That's just in 2023. So Ryan Day and the new offensive coordinator, Chip Kelly, coming in. They're going to work with him. And what's their offense going to look like? That's to be determined. But Ohio State's number 2 on this list. So let's move on right ahead. The Oregon Ducks at number 3. So there is going to be a quarterback battle. Bo Nix, this guy that seems like he's been in college for forever, his eligibility is finally up, and a new quarterback is going to take the reins and lead this team going forward. But you've got Dillon Gabriel coming in, and Dante Moore from UCLA. And Dante Moore, he's going to have his work cut out for him. Dillon Gabriel had a 3,660-yard, 30-touchdown season at Oklahoma. That's going to be tough to compete with. But now Moore, he's still a young guy. He was a little shaky there at UCLA this past season, but he was one of the highest-rated quarterbacks coming in. And look, regardless of where they go, I would intend that it's going to be Dillon Gabriel. But Oregon, I think they have a good future ahead of them. Number 3 right here, that's interesting to me. Number 3, they'll obviously be in the Big Ten this next year. But that also centers around that quarterback position. That's the thing you had at number 2 with Ohio State, and right here at number 3 with Oregon. It's all about the quarterback here, in my opinion. Now let's move on to number 4, the Texas Longhorns, entering the SEC. They had a really strong year last year. I predicted them, honestly, to be in the national title game. But coming in, and Quinn Ewers coming back, it's not going anywhere. He's going to be the starting quarterback. In the final season for Texas in the Big 12, Quinn Ewers had 3,479 yards and 22 touchdowns, only threw 6 interceptions in the past season, 2023. But You've got your tight end, Jatavion Sanders and Jordan Whittington, going to the NFL. So, what's gonna become of the passing game there at Texas? Now you have incoming transfers: Isaiah Bond from Alabama, Silas Bolden from Oregon State, Matthew Golden from Houston, and tight end Amari Niblack from Alabama, and also Ryan Wingo coming in from high school, number 27, the ESPN 300. So, with a veteran quarterback in Quinn Ewers, all that talent coming in, you had some great talent going out, got really good talent coming in, and I think they're in to make another run at it this year. Very excited to see the matchups, these new matchups that we're going to have this season. Let's move on. Number 5, Notre Dame. Now you've got Riley Leonard coming in from Duke. It's going to be his first season with the Irish, taking the team over. But, he had some good seasons at Duke. Duke actually was looking pretty good last year, at least the first half of the year. They had game day down there and had some success really early. They did fall off a little bit as the season progressed. I really don't have much to say about Notre Dame. They're still one of these teams. They're not in a conference. They're going to have to enter a conference because they get put in a position like number 5, and I just don't think it's fair to these other teams that have these grueling schedules. I know Notre Dame plays games with the ACC. I know they have in the past, but I think they have to get in a conference because for it to be genuine, for them to fully earn their spot, I think they need to join a conference. Whether that's the Big Ten or the ACC, it would probably be the Big Ten. At this point, with everybody going to the Big Ten, wouldn't surprise me if that's where they went. But I know they're going to probably ride this independent thing for as long as they can go. They've got this deal with NBC, obviously, to call their games, to show their games, national television. But, what more can you say? Coming in at number 6, the Ole Miss Rebels. Now, it seems like I've been talking about offense. I did talk about defense with Georgia, but all the other picks, 2 through 5, I talked about the offense, quarterbacks mainly. Well, this right here, the Ole Miss Rebels, similar to Georgia in the sense that the offense is what it is. You've got a returning quarterback in Jackson Dart. Yes, you've got Quinshon Judkins going over to Ohio State. But you've got some other great players. Prescorn at tight end that can block, but can also be an effective pass catcher. I think that is an absolute crucial position. But other than him, Ole Miss has a great wide receiver core, and they've got new guys coming in. It's going to be exciting to see their offense. But, like I said, same thing with Georgia. The offense is going to be okay. The offense is going to be great. But this defense right here for Ole Miss is what's always been a question for years. They've had great offenses, but the defenses have been lacking. Now, what Lane Kiffin has done, they're coming off that 11-2 season last year after beating Penn State in the Peach Bowl. You got Pete Golding at defensive coordinator. He really didn't have that much time last year to build upon a team because when he got there, maybe a couple weeks of recruiting, that's all he was able to do. You really can't do much in that amount of time. You're really kind of inheriting the previous administration's players. So this year he's really been able to lock down, focus on recruiting, getting the best players he can get into the program. I think they're going to be a whole lot better, not just schematically on defense, but with talent-wise. That was always the struggle. They had good schematics and good defensive plays last year, but you can only do so much with talent, especially when you're playing these tough SEC teams. That's kind of where you can only do so much. The talent discrepancy really shows. You got Walker Nolan coming in, defensive tackle. Chris Paul Jr. at linebacker, among many others. It's going to be an impressive year, I think, or at least a well-improved year defense for Ole Miss. And if they can get just a few more stops, there's been games in the past few years, if they would have just been able to get just a couple, 2 or 3 more stops on defense, the games could have went in a completely different direction. Coming at number 7, the Missouri Tigers. Now, the Missouri Tigers, this is a team that has really came out of the woodworks. And, we were talking about this this past season and before this last season, and we thought Missouri had some potential. We didn't think they would have as much potential as they did have. Starting with that win over Kansas State on that record field goal and just busting on through, man. They really, really showed what they can do. And the funny thing about it, Coach Eli Drinkowitz, prior to this season, he was kind of he wasn't on the hot seat yet, but if he didn't do anything this year, he was going to probably be on the hot seat. It was going to at least be a whole lot warmer than it was previously. But he turned the year around, and they really just they just battled through, and they overcame adversity, won 11 games, but they have to replace some players. They are going to be missing Cody Schrader, which is a pivotal part of this Missouri team last year. Just a bunch of new faces coming in. All SEC, Darius Robinson at the end position, defensive end. Tyron Hopper at linebacker. Chris Adams at cornerback, among some others. 10 players on defense heading out of the program. So, like with Ole Miss, like with Georgia, the defense really going forward may make or break for them. We're talking about maybe a plus minus a couple games depending on what they do on that side of football. Moving in at number 8, the Penn State Nittany Lions, coming off of a loss in the Peach Bowl. James Franklin fired his offensive coordinator, Mike Urich, in November after losing to Michigan. So he didn't even let the guy go on through the rest of the season. He said, "Nope, you're out of here, bud. See ya." Now for Penn State, quarterback is going to be a very crucial, pivotal position for them. Drew Aller, 4th in the Big Ten passing yards, tie with Talia Tagovailoa for conference lead, 25 touchdowns on the year. He threw for 2,631 yards last year, 25 touchdowns. With Mike Urich at the helm there at offensive coordinator, we can see some more progression from him at quarterback. That's going to be what they need if they want to continue to be a force in the Big Ten. Because let's face it, they're one of those teams that are always under Ohio State. They're always under Michigan. And now with all these other teams coming into the conference, they're really, they have a great chance of getting knocked down 2 or 3 more spots. And you really don't want that. If you're Penn State, you're really trying to battle and claw to maintain that high position in your conference. Number 9, the Alabama Crimson Tide. The greatest football coach of all time, Nick Saban, retires. He said, "You know what? That's it. I've done all I can do here at Alabama. This current landscape of college football with NIL and transfer portal and all these things and money and all that, along with my team not having as much success as we did, it's time to hang it up." Man was in his 70s. It's about time he rests, honestly. I think he earns that and he deserves that. Kalen DeBoer coming in from Washington off of a great season, a great run at the title. But, he faces a really tough challenge, DeBoer. And I've always said this for years. Whoever has to step into that position, first of all, who would want to be put in that position? Second of all, the amount of pressure that you're going to have to go through. Because regardless if you have Nick Saban at coach or if you have somebody else at head coaching position, the Alabama fans are still going to expect greatness and expect high win percentages, not just bowl games, but playoff berths, semifinals, championships, at least making it to the national title. And they won't settle for much less than that. Alabama fans are going to have to learn to lose. They do not know how to lose. They do not know really how much, what losing feels like, honestly. Any Alabama fans out there, you tell me what you're feeling about Kalen DeBoer, how excited you are, and what your expectation level is. If you manage to maybe lose a couple games, if you only win 8 or 9 games this season, what's your feelings? That's what I want to know. Back in the day, Bear Bryant leaves, he retires, and then Alabama does this right here. For years and years and years. I don't see that happening here in the modern times. And rounding at number 10, this may be interesting to you, the Utah Utes. Number 10 on the way too early, top 25 from ESPN. Now, let me tell you something about Utah here. Cam Rising coming back, he's healthy, and he's hungry to make a difference for this team. Utah in the Big 12 is going to, I think they're going to have a big run at it. Big 12 without Texas and Oklahoma, I think they have a chance of winning the Big 12 title and, making it to the playoff. Honestly, I see them in the playoff this year. Of course, with 12 teams, there's a lot bigger chance of that. Of course, if they do win the conference title, they will be in automatically. That's just how that works. We'll talk about the new playoff system at a later date. But if the offensive line there at Utah can protect Cam, allow him to sit back there and make the best decisions, I think they have a chance of being pretty powerful on offense. After coming off that shoulder surgery, I think he's going to be hungry and ready to make a difference there at Utah. So let's go back again. We'll start where we just left off. Utah at number 10, Alabama number 9, Penn State 8, Missouri number 7, Ole Miss at 6. You've got Notre Dame at 5, Texas at 4, Oregon at 3, the Ohio State Buckeyes at number 2, and the Georgia Bulldogs number 1 in ESPN's way too early top 25. That is the top 10 teams on that list. Tell me what you think about this list. Tell me what you would do different and your thoughts on my comments. Thank you so much for watching, for listening. I'm Brandon Taylor. See you in the next one.